Hey everybody, it is Mattie here with Altcoin Buzz. Hope you're doing very well on this hump day. We're looking at a number of stories today, including Steve Wozniak, who's entering very definitively the world of blockchain. Steve Wozniak, of course, the Apple co-founder. You may have heard of him. We have another feature in our Community Speaks segment, this time talking about XinFin, and that comes by way of David Freuden, who's authored for Altcoin Buzz before, who's been a guest on our podcast before, a very well-researched and nicely informed piece. We're going to take a look at that. But let's begin, as always, on altcoinbuzz.io today with this article by Chris. Bakkt. Big news. Bakkt CEO. Crypto market is fragmented, but we're about to see a revolution. We've talked about Bakkt before. I'm a little bit partial to the potential revolution, in their words, that they can create because I'm quite enthusiastic about what this means for the space. But let's read ahead. So Chris writes, Kelly Loeffler, Bakkt CEO, posted on Medium that former vice president and general manager of Coinbase, Adam White, will be joining Bakkt as the chief operating officer, their CEO, in November. So that's right around the corner. In addition, she believes that we are, quote, about to see a revolution in cryptocurrencies like the oil markets in the early 2000s. Big words. So Coinbase is clearly the most known company in the crypto space. So why would their fifth employee jump ship to go to Wall Street? That's a very, very good question to ask yourselves, because Coinbase, as much as they've been expanding, as much as they're poised for growth, what is it about Bakkt that would attract really like a top level executive and make them jump ship? In an interview with Fortune, he explains that while it was amazing to have a, quote, front row seat to this new technology, he feels that Wall Street is ready to package digital assets for the masses. Continuing the quote, in 2017, I saw a big shift. The interest in Bitcoin and other currencies started changing from retail to the institutional side. But the level of infrastructure of the existing trading sites doesn't meet their expectations. That's why they're waiting on the sidelines. The big banks needed exchanges that provided the safety equivalent to what they enjoyed in trading equities, bonds, or gold. That's why I joined Bakkt. So that's a quote courtesy of Adam White. And don't forget that we have Coinbase custody, or that has at least been offered as a solution to these institutional needs on the part of the big organizations and the enterprises. So I think that this story, at least the way I'm interpreting it, it suggests that even Adam White doesn't necessarily have full confidence he doesn't feel that Coinbase custody can offer institutional investors the same level of product or service that Bakkt potentially has available to them. And according to Kelly Loeffler, they are close to filing their rules publicly with the CFTC in order for them to review it. In November, Bakkt plans on testing and onboarding, while trading and warehousing will begin in December, all subject, of course, to the CFTC's approval. So the comparison has been made here to oil contracts in the early 2000s. In 2002, there were only a few oil contracts listed on ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange, but today there are over 500 contracts. And don't forget that the Intercontinental Exchange is the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. They are behind Bakkt. So everything kind of ties in quite neatly. Quote, many of us share the view that a new asset class is forming and a framework for operating within these markets is welcome. The potential for product development is strong, as is the need for regulatory certainty. That is courtesy of Kelly Loeffler. So let us know what you guys think. At the end of the day, this is still just a product offering, right? This is an avenue for institutional investors. The institutional investors themselves still need to step up. They need to be interested and involved in this space for it to take off. Coinbase custody has been around, at least in theory, for a little while. It hasn't really changed anything yet. But, I'm hopeful. I would argue some reasons. I think that if this is really something that is Wall Street centric, I think it does stand a pretty good chance. To me, this is very, very important news. You can read more about it here on Medium. Our team, launch, and advocacy, expanding Bakkt's founding team with Adam White. So that's Kelly Loeffler, CEO of Bakkt, creating global regulated ecosystem for digital assets. There you have it. This is related news. We're not going to dive too deeply into it, but Fidelity Investments, which we've talked about before, they're launching an institutional platform for Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can read about that. We're going to link to it. This is on Forbes.com. Fidelity Investments is spinning off a standalone company dedicated to bringing cryptocurrencies to institutional investors. So they seem to be piggybacking off of at least some of the demand that projects like Bakkt now is instituting. Let's see what happens with this. You can read more about it on this Forbes.com article. In other news, here by Luke, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak co-founds blockchain-focused venture capital fund Global. This is a pretty big move, and like I said, it's a definitive entry into the space. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak has been introduced as the co-founder of the recently launched blockchain-focused venture capital fund called Equi Global. The business outlet Verdict reported the news yesterday. With this, yet another well-known name in the tech space is getting into blockchain. So Steve Wozniak, he's referred to as the Woz, is an American investor, electronics engineer, programmer, philanthropist, and technology entrepreneur who co-founded Apple along with Steve Jobs. Wozniak and Jobs are widely recognized as pioneers of the personal computer revolution in the 70s and 80s. A little bit about Equi Global that he's now getting into. They're a technology-based venture capital fund that combines the conventional principles of investing with a blockchain backend that allows value to be realized and can subsequently be traded on the open market via Equi token. With the appointment as co-founder of the startup, Wozniak joins forces with founder Doug Barrowman and co-founder Michelle Moan. And then here you have a quote from The Woz, which he issued in an interview with Sam Rubin. People propose ideas every day, actually dozens per day, and I always say no. Since I founded Apple together with Steve Jobs, this is the second time in 20 years that I really said yes, I want to be a part of this. It must be something that I really believe in, and I really believe in equity. Not too bad. So it seems like he's, I don't know, at least he's saying, he's suggesting that he's genuine, that he truly believes in it authentically. It's not just a cash grab. Furthermore, Wozniak stated that it is the company's mission to, quote, seek, support, and fund the blockchain and tech stars of tomorrow. Wozniak noted that the company has already partnered with over 20 businesses that have not been launched officially. So let's keep an eye on this because earlier, yes, this is back in June, Wozniak did call blockchain a bubble, comparing the technology to the internet bubble from the end of the last century. He called Bitcoin, however, just great. And in May, he even mentioned that the Ethereum network could just become the new Apple. So definitely mixed signals there, ambivalent points of view historically. But, hey, look, some people start out as critics of new technologies, of new sectors, of new industries. And in being critical and researching more, they kind of learn a little bit more in that process, and they actually become quite sympathetic, if not full-on cheerleaders of these new revolutions, these new paradigm shifts. So maybe that's the case with the Woz. You can read about that as well on Bitcoinist.com. Steve Wozniak co-founds blockchain-powered capital investment platform. There you have it. So in other news today, and finally, we're looking at this next installment of our Community Speaks feature, looking at XinFin. So our thanks to David Freuden, who has provided this article for us. So what is it? XinFin is an open source hybrid blockchain platform. It offers scalable, secure, enterprise-grade open source blockchain that is well suited for highly regulated industries and commercially sensitive data. XinFin is the world's first open hybrid blockchain platform. It is built on both Ethereum, a public blockchain, and Quorum, a private blockchain. Quorum is an enterprise-focused version of Ethereum developed by JP Morgan. So XinFin is registered in Singapore, and it's raised $15 million in their ICO. They have over 50 staff operating in 5 countries. Talking about the tech specifically, XinFin Network is currently designed on a PBFT plus stake-driven consensus, which means participating entities such as masternodes and institutions need to stake their tokens. This simply means that most tokens will be staked and locked for running masternodes, private subnetworks, and various financial applications. The blockchain is an open-source hybrid PBFT/POS consensus protocol, public and private, a permissioned blockchain for privacy necessary for banks, financial institutions, and governments. You can read as well about their first dApp trade Finex, which was designed for global infrastructure financing. Infrastructure investment is a massive market, writes David, that is experiencing significant funding challenges. According to the World Bank, quote, it is forecasted that $94 trillion needs to be invested in global infrastructure projects by 2040. And certainly some of those very impressive global infrastructure projects are happening over in the Middle East. Actually, over in my old stomp, hunting grounds of Abu Dhabi, where I was living briefly. I think I mentioned that before. But in September 2018, XinFin became the official participant of Abu Dhabi Global Market Reg Lab Sandbox to live test trade Finex platform in the MENA region, which is the Middle East and North Africa region. You can read a little bit more about those partners here: Abu Dhabi Global Markets, Reg Lab, OMFIF, Ramco Systems, ASOCHAM, and Change Rink. So there's all the information if you want to learn more about XinFin, the whole hybrid blockchain system. It's not the most difficult concept in the world, but if you want to learn more about that, really wrap your mind around it, I'd encourage you to go back and check out our 2 podcasts that we did with David Freuden. We're going to link to those in the description as well. But in the meantime, let us know your perspectives on this article. Our thanks to David for his contribution. You can read more about XinFin and their exchanges that they're on here on this Medium article. And do be sure to check out the website as well, xinfin.org. Enterprise-ready hybrid blockchain for global trade and finance. It's been a kind of a lot of news and a lot of little articles that we've touched on today. So we're saving this piece for tomorrow, XRP. In case you missed it, White House may be pushing towards it, but let's discuss that in the next video, lest this one run too long. So there's always too much news. It's always difficult to cover it all, but make sure you're following Altcoin Buzz and Altcoin Buzz News on Twitter for your best chance at keeping up with it. We're also, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram. If you've not checked out our last video, here it is on the right side of your screen. Click on the website icon as well for our most recent publications. Members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, have a wonderful hump day. If you choose to invest, I wish you all the very best of luck. We'll see you guys again soon in a new video. Take care.